So how do you intend to come up with the down payment for your next home or your new home? Let's get right to it. Hi everyone, my name is Joseph Olaterugun, talking about life, success and real estate, and today we'll be discussing ways you can come up with that down payment for your first home or maybe your second or third home. So diving right into it, the first option you have to come up with your down payment is your savings. When you save money, it shows the banks or the lenders that you have the ability to manage money. So the savings you have put together before deciding to buy a home is definitely a great resource to tap into. The second option that I'd like to talk about is not one that you hear commonly out there, but you could tap into your RRSP for a down payment for your next home. Depending on who you speak to, you may be actually able to take up to 25,000 of your saved up RRSP for your down payment. The other thing to keep in mind regarding RRSP is that if you are using this to buy a second home, it's most likely that you'll be fully taxed when you take that money out. But if this is your first home, then you may not be taxed up until maybe 25,000. But again, verify this with your mortgage broker. Now, the third option I'd like to discuss today is equity from previously owned homes. So if this is perhaps your second property you're trying to purchase, well, you do have some equity in the homes that you've owned before if you've owned them for a significant amount of time. As you know, I say a lot in this channel that real estate investment or real estate purchase and making money out of it is a time game. So if you've owned a property for a significant amount of time, talking about 3 years and above, it's most likely that you have some equity built up in there. So how do we leverage this as a down payment for the next home? There are a few ways to it. Some people will just outright sell that home and cash out and use that money as a down payment. That's not the most preferred route because it's really expensive to sell a home. The next option is for you to actually refinance that home. If you choose to refinance a home, what happens is that you go back to the lender and you review your status. Let's say you had initially borrowed 95% of the value of the home, but now the balance that you owe compared to the value of the current value of the home is only about 50%. You only owe 50% of the property. Then you could refinance the property usually up to about 80%. That means you have the 30% of the value of the property that you can now cash out and use that as a down payment. I hope that makes sense. Let's use numbers right now to explain this so you know you have a good context for this. Let's say the value of the home initially was $100,000. Your mortgage loan was $95,000. So you initially owed $95,000, and in 3 years time, let's say you've paid the loan down to $85,000, but the value of the home is now $150,000. That sounds good, right? Well, if you go back and refinance this, meaning that you want to refresh the entire loan contract, you will be able to refinance up to 80%. 80% of 150,000 comes up to about $120,000. So that would be the maximum loan, but your balance right now, I believe I said, is 85,000. So 85,000, 120,000. That's about $35,000 that you can cash out on from that. Of course, you have to note that your new mortgage has now risen up to $120,000, which means your monthly payments on that house now goes up, but you have this cash now to buy your second property. I hope that makes sense. The fourth option I'd like to discuss regarding coming up with your down payment is gifts from family. This has to be an immediate family member, a father, mother, your brother, or your sister. Those are the people your down payments can come from. You, for the most part, will probably not be allowed to, get money from an uncle, an aunt, or a distant relative, because this needs to be a gift truly, and that's basically just how the bank assesses this. Now, the next option I'd like to discuss is a line of credit and credit cards. So this is kind of like a form of loan as well. You can, if you have a line of credit, let's say you have a line of credit of about $50,000, you could literally take that and use it for your down payment. But there's a caveat to that. If you take out $50,000 and you tell the bank this is your down payment, well, the way they now assess you is that you have an additional $50,000 debt that you will now have to service, which means that that reduces your borrowing power drastically. I hope that makes sense. So you do have a line of credit that is $50,000 with no balance, meaning you haven't taken out any money out of that line of credit, but you decided to use that money as your down payment, the whole $50,000. Then the bank basically assesses you as a person who is $50,000 in debt, and that would reduce the amount of money they would decide to loan you. Now, this is the rare one that I don't hear people talk about that often, and it is really important that you know that this is available to you, especially you, the first-time home buyers. Many municipalities in Ontario do offer forgivable loans for first-time home buyers. A very good example is the Home Ownership Program in Niagara Region, Ontario. This Home Ownership Program would issue you a loan for your down payment, provided that you stay in the house for a particular length of time, and it also gives a cap to the value of the property. I believe it's about $400,000. Of course, you're supposed to be 18 before you have access to this kind of loan and things like that. But what's amazing is that a lot of municipalities within the province of Ontario do offer this kind of home ownership programs to allow citizens of these municipalities to afford homes, and a lot of people do not know about it. So please research whatever municipality you live in Ontario, or wherever you are in Canada, if this is available to you, because that's something that could accelerate your ability to purchase that home that you've been dreaming about. Well, that's all I have for you on this episode. If you've liked this content, please like and subscribe to this channel. And if you have any comments, or if you have any corrections to make to the information I presented today, please make them known in the comment section below. And when you subscribe to the channel, don't forget to click the notification icon, the bell icon right after subscribing. My name is Joseph Olatiriogun, talking about life, success, and real estate. And have a good one.